You can 2 or 3 tank this fight. Kil'Jaeden's Fell Claws increase the damage the tank takes by 35% for 20 seconds. If you 2 tank, you have to taunt off at about 5 stacks. If you 3 tank, then 2 to 3 stacks. On Heroic, it's 60% and Fell Claws does a frontal AoE cone, so make sure he's faced away from the raid. Phase 1 he'll cast Armageddon, which will spawn small red swirls and 1 large red swirl that has to be soaked by 1 person in each swirl. The one that decides to soak the large one has to use an immunity. If any of these aren't soaked, it'll leave a deadly dot on the raid, so soak them. Soaking these will leave a moderately damaging dot on a player that lasts a minute. Armageddon happens every 50 seconds, so try not to get 2, but do it if you really have to. There will be a rupturing singularity orb that spawns in the center. No one should stand on it, but everyone should get close to it to not get knocked off the platform, since when it lands everyone will get knocked back. Intermission 1 happens at 80%. Kil'Jaeden will fly up, don't try attacking him. Armageddon will still happen. There will now be a focused Dreadflame that everyone should get in a line for to reduce damage. On Heroic, anyone hit will cause a splash damage to everyone within 5 yards of them, so not everyone should soak it, but if you do, spread out while standing in a line. Random players will get Bursting Dreadflame, which will put a very large red circle around you. Spread for this. It's okay to get hit by one, just multiple will be deadly. On Heroic, you have to deal with rupturing singularities in this phase. They'll spawn in the corners though. The raid does not have to get close to them, just be aware of what corner it's at and don't be right next to the opposite corner. Kil'Jaeden will land and phase 2 will occur. Focused Dreadflame, Armageddon, and Bursting Dreadflame still happen. 3 players will get marked by shadow reflections. They should stack on the boss and 3 adds will spawn that don't move but cast on the raid. Kill them ASAP. On Heroic, do not stack them but instead spread 20 yards for them to spawn because if they're too close they buff themselves. Also on Heroic, this shadow reflection also happens in phase 1, so keep that in mind. And just in phase 2, the tank will get a shadow reflection wailing ad that's on a separate timer. This ad needs to be tanked and killed ASAP before his damage racks up too high. Intermission 2 happens at 40%. The field will go dark and you have to seek out Illidan to gain his sight. There will be Shadow Soul enemies that do raid-wide ticking damage which all must be killed to finish this phase. Find Illidan and ping him on your map for your raid to know. Walk over him for his sight buff and kill all Shadow Soul enemies to finish this phase. Also heal off the absorption shields placed on players. Phase 3, Bursting Dreadflame and Focused Dreadflame still happen. Kil'Jaeden will spawn a Tear Rift sucking everyone towards it. If you get close to it, it does do damage, but it comes handy later on. He'll cast Darkness of 1,000 Souls dealing massive damage to the raid and put a ticking dot if you get hit. To avoid this, stand next to the Tear Rift before it goes off. He'll also spawn demonic obelisks around the room. Keep an eye on where they spawn and don't stand in a line in front of or beside them, because if you do, you'll get hit when they explode and get knocked back. On Heroic, a flaming orb will spawn and follow the player closest to it. If it hits someone, it will lay a fire pool. A mobile range should get close to it and kite it around the edge towards a Tear Rift. Trigger it by letting it hit you and no pool will spawn. And that's Tome of Sargeras.